and your ladder will be greater. I said your ladder will be greater. I said your ladder will be greater. I said your future is gonna be greater. What's ahead of you is gonna be greater. Greater, 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 greater.
Hello, people of God. My name is Prophet Jeremy A. Smith, and I'm coming before you in the month of February, the 13th, in obedience to what the Spirit of God has impressed upon me. My soul is very troubled. My heart is very heavy for the things that God has been speaking to me in private. He's wrestled with me, explaining to me that now is the time to release those things publicly. So this is in obedience to the wrestling of the Lord. This word that God has brought to me is concerning Bishop Eddie Long. And when God brought this word to my spirit, He brought to me understanding of something greater than just the word. But the Spirit of God said to me, Bishop Eddie Long, because you have rejected the words of the prophets that I have sent before you, words that have instructed you to make yourself small and to be humble. For the Spirit of God says that I have told you if you would humble yourself, I would preserve your ministry and that it would remain. But because, Bishop, you have allowed yourself to be lifted up in pride, and because you have allowed yourself to be lifted up on the shoulders of poor men, the Spirit of God says within the next 92 months, your body will be found with disease that will cause the number of your days to be shortened. For the Spirit of God has brought these things against you as a sign to the state of Georgia that He is giving the hearts of the people to shepherds that are after my own heart, saith the Lord. For the Spirit of God says, I'm going to give my people ears to hear my voice like never before. And God says over the state of Georgia that I'm causing great discernment to rest upon my people. And God says out of the background, out of the darkness, out of the places of obscurity, God says, I'm going to bring forth a new type of shepherd, a shepherd that's not after the lust of his own flesh, that doesn't have an agenda, that's not trying to make his name great, but a shepherd that is for me first, says the Lord, and for my people second. For God says to those people who have been called to plant churches, the Spirit of God says concerning the state of Georgia, it will not be 4 and 5 years before churches are established anew. But God says within 4 to 5 months, churches will begin to flourish and spring up out of nowhere. For God says, I'm sending a fire that is going to harvest the land, and it is going to judge the religious spirit in the state of Georgia. For God says, I'm going to strike this region, and I'm going to cause the infection and the pus to ooze out of the religious system for the world to see. For God says, this infection will no longer be consumed by my people. For God says, to him who has an ear, let him hear, and let him come away, and let him eat new grain, and let him graze in new fields, saith the Lord. For the Spirit of God says, now is the time For there is a great shifting and there is a great awakening of truth within the state of Georgia. For God says in this time of awakening and in this time of prosperity concerning the riches of God being found in His Word, God says even the economy in the state of Georgia is turning around. For God says even in your crops, where other southern states' crops are troubled and they are minimal because of the heat that I'm going to bring upon the land, God says uniquely I will preserve your fields. And I will bring a great source of income into this state, yea, even this summer, saith the Lord.
And the gifts of the Spirit of God that are within us.
People of God in the state of Georgia,
I believe if we
God has begun to hear your prayers and He is sending shepherds after their own hearts.
God's presence and
But you must not drink from the bitter waters of religion any longer.
worshiping and recording. Does anybody believe that?
Come to me, my people.
You to lift up your hands now and begin to lift.
Come to me and eat.
Just begin to open your own.
Come to me who are thirsty, saith the Lord, and drink,
Just begin to bless.
and I will satisfy your soul.